into this is they really need to shut down Desireme. Desireme has been incredibly strong, and although the rest of the UTS team has high kill count and that they have been incredibly successful, it is usually because of the fact that Desireme has performed well that they're able to accentuate those leads, and that's why they have 11 kills, 17 kills on their players, is because they're actually accentuating Desireme's lead. If they shut him down early and actually mean that, make it so it's a lot harder for them to get those kills and assists, you might see a slightly more even game. So I really, really want to see Killaroo and Simpmaster trying to pick it up. Simpmaster has been incredibly good on that set. I think if they can get that set, shut down the ADC, Anderson really needs to pick someone who can burst him down. Effectively, MDU needs to lock up Desireme and keep him there. A Mordekaiser, for example, is not going to go amiss. Yes, you might end up dying to Desireme, but you lock him out of the fight long enough for the rest of your team to take him down, then there doesn't seem to be a problem there. So that's what I'm looking for Murdoch. And for UTS, they need to focus through Desireme and ZY. But I actually want Akano to try and go mid to top because Desireme and ZY usually win lane solo. So I think getting that pressure elsewhere will mean you've got a multifaceted team that can win the game from anywhere.
That is a possibility, and it would be nice to see UTS actually mix it up. This seems to be the type of game where you'd want to do that, especially considering Boy Meets Evil tendency to get caught out and ZY how he likes to go for those picks. Now, Lux will get locked in first. This is the first Lux we're seeing on stream, second Lux we're seeing on stream today.
Yeah.
And we did see one earlier. Again, Lux coming into the day with that 100% win rate. I feel like this is the first time it's really being challenged against UTS, as Ash could be getting instant locked right back. Murdoch still has that Sona Lux available. It's been the premier bot lane. Boy Meets Evil and Ducky, they might be giving it a crack.
They might be giving it a crack. And here's a real question. What is going to win? We had last semester, we had QUT's win rate versus Starving Senna. So now who's going to crack first? UTS or Lux? I think that's going to be a very interesting game, as it looks like they are going to pick up that Sona Lux bot lane that has been dominating this patch. It has been incredibly strong, and I think that it's one of those things that they're going to keep doing.
The one thing that has me worried, though, about Murdoch running this bot lane is you have the bot lane player who has been caught out the most on the champion with the least amount of base health in the game. Against an enchanted crystal arrow being run by Desireme, who we highlighted will go out of his way to try to force plays. I almost feel as if this is playing right into UTS's wheelhouse right now, and Murdoch is going to have to be very, very cautious. Set gets locked in, the boss is going to join the fray, and hopefully he doesn't run off of Summoner's Rift to start doing sit-ups and push-ups.
Yeah, I hope not. He did, Simpmaster, I said I wanted to see him on that set. He's picked it up. It's been a star champion of his throughout not only this tournament, but the last tournament he was in. He played incredibly well. I was just about to say the Blitzcrank could be very good here, and they read my mind and they're picking it up. Thresh was banned, Blitz is left up. What's a better combination than a low health support and a Blitzcrank?
Is this the first Blitz we've seen in this tournament, actually? I believe it might be. No, it will be our second Blitzcrank, sorry. We saw it run by QUT back in week number 2, but we get to see it again. I think this time we actually get it on stream. I'm not sure we saw it on stream before. So Blitz Ash in that bot lane, you get hooked. That is pretty much a guaranteed kill for UTS as we hit our next rounds of bans already. Lucian being taken away. The pick potential from UTS right now, I am I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm so worried for Boy Meets Evil because they are just saying, you know what? We've watched your games in the past. We know your tendencies. We are coming after you.
But to be fair, Murdoch has acknowledged that by banning out the Akali, they know that UTS is going for team comps that allow them to go in hard, go quick, win matches, dive, etc. They've got the Volley Bear, they've got the Blitz, they've got the Ashe. They're acknowledging that the Akali is one of those champions who can get in, assassinate, get out, and they're also banning the Sylas. They do have some very good ultimates on the side of MDU, and they do not want UTS taking advantage of their own team comp.
No, they do not. So as we hit our second round of picks right now, solo lane still required for UTS. Curious where they will go with them. In the past, we have seen, again, more control mages coming out of auto. That's going to be the case once more as Orianna does get picked up. And now we go right back to that Murdoch side. They too are going to be looking for that answer. Where do you think they're going to go with this one?
They're going to go for the Yone, apparently, go for that hard engage. It's not a terrible idea with the team comp they're going for. They have very, line-centric team fight. They want to fight front to back. They want to lock you up, and they want to hit you with everything at a line. I think, they're playing to what they're doing. That is actually not a bad idea if they decide to go with the Hecarim. Again, it's another front to back team fight ultimate that maybe will allow Yone to set up a little more efficiently. That's actually not a bad team coming out of MDU.
Yeah.
I like how they've edited it, as we have a Darius getting picked up for the side of UTS against that set.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting matchup in the top lane, but I kind of want to go back to Murdoch and their jungle pick with this Hecarim. I think it complements the team very well. Hecarim, kind of one of those super strong solo queue junglers at the moment. As soon as you get that Trinity Force, there's a lot of targets that he will be able to one-shot against this UTS side, who... I'm still waiting for that swap. Okay, there it is. I was getting a little worried as that climber was sticking down that we were going to see some shenanigans, but nope. Ashe does go back down to that bot lane. Killaroo, I've been actually casting a lot of Killaroo recently. It feels like I've been getting Murdoch a lot in both League of Legends and in Rocket League, and he is one of those dual threat players who's able to play both games, kind of like Chewy on the Griffith side. Hecarim makes sense from a Rocket League player. You know what? You go fast, you hit hard, and you score that goal. And I'm curious if Murdoch can get that big goal in this one. I feel like if they start to get that early lead, start to get that momentum, things could be really good for this Murdoch side. Rocket League, another game that's like entirely momentum-based, kind of fits with this team composition. Murdoch, they might just be able to do this.
Yeah, they might just be able to, on this patch that we're playing on, Hecarim did get a movement speed buff, which, based on his passive, is a technical placebo damage buff, which is always really helpful for him. We saw its success in the past, so, he has been successful in this tournament so far, and I really like their front-to-back centric team comp.
Yeah, I like it a lot as well, but they still are going to have to execute against a UTS side that has been playing near perfectly thus far. This was actually seen last week when UTS took on the University of New South Wales, so we'll be cutting to a quick highlight package there, and when we return, we're getting onto the Rift for our final match of the evening.
Otto on that rise is really UTS's late game insurance. Oh, so we have another potential invade here. Oh, they know.
Might get caught. In fact, they're going to commit for it. A flash already burned, but 2 follow-up flashes means the stun will connect, and Aviator is going to go down. First blood to UTS.
And they're just going to focus this bot lane again. Akano going in for another
no
gang.
No flashes available, but lanterns are still there. Good use of the pillar. Actually catches the Dawn out. The hook does connect, and it's a double flay underneath the tower, but too much damage. I love the Presley attack taken by Sherlock, just trying to get as much damage as possible. But ID Albert is here to try and punish, gets a good knock away, but Chubby's immediately jumps back upon Sherlock. So sticky, yet not quite damaging enough. Here comes ID Albert going straight after Desire Me. Teleport going to be dropped, and this is not the fight New South Wales wants. The nice lantern will get Albert safely, but Distortion is the one who could be in a bit of trouble. The box actually catches Otto on the wrong side of it. The follow-up hook is there, and Otto is already down. Chubby tries to front line, but cannot stop Sherlock from diving and slicing and dicing into the back line themselves. Desire Me, it sort of makes their opponents play to their level. Otto, though, keeps getting caught out. Realm Warp will get started, and he gets knocked out of it by Ida Alberts. Cloud Drake has been started. UTS will secure it, but New South Wales still might try to find the fight. Actually, they're going to back out. Sherlock, with that teleport, will slice and dice over the wall to cut off the escapes. Ida Albert forced to go in, sacrificing himself to save the team, and Sherlock actually gets caught out by the Dawn instead, though Sherlock will take one with him as he does find Aviator on the tail end, getting something in return, and now the rest of UTS arrives to possibly catch Distortion. Flashing forward is Akano, unable to chase this LeBlanc down, but up above the Dawn will sacrifice themselves. Gold's going into buy time. Eventually, Desire Me secures that one. Furthermore, Ivy Albert falls as well, and that's that 5-kill Hecarim no longer in the fight. The snipe from Otto finds Distortion. UTS running straight over New South Wales. The triple kill for Desire Me. A relatively even game for the first 15 minutes or so. Distortion trying to force something back. They may actually catch out Desire Me, and that is a lot of damage off the table. Sherlock jumps in, but goes golden immediately, and then slices and dices, tries to escape, but will go down. A double kill that is needed, and it's very important. Enchanted Crystal Arrow actually connecting onto Chubby down below, and Desire Me just shredding through this Shen. Oh, it's a 3v5. Everything stacked against New South Wales. They're not going to come back from this one. The knuckle of UTS just hitting in New South Wales' face again and again and again. Desire Me finding kill after kill. Nexus towers are falling one at a time. In fact, UTS, they're even going to think about diving into the fountain. In goes, I believe that was Desire Me, and that actually might come back to bite UTS, as now those health bars are quite low and Distortion is back up. Otto trying to do the smart thing and get the kill. Sorry, it's Akano who's whacking on the Nexus. They get the ace, they get the game. UTS remains undefeated. UTS are going to be fighting to maintain that undefeated record right here, right now. It's now Murdoch stepping up to the plate to take down one of our two favorites in this tournament. Now, going by KDA alone, Griffith would technically be that team on top. UTS and their fight-heavy style does lead to a lot of deaths. However, again, mentioned this at the start. Team with the most kills, UTS. Player with the most kills, Desire Me. Player with the most assists, ZY. And we could be going straight into a fight, straight out of the gate. It's 1v1 action time in terms of teams. It's really a 5v5, and ZY will be giving up that first blood over to Murdoch. That is the start that this side needed.
Yeah, that is the start that Murdoch needed. Getting that first kill on Simp Master is really, really good for them. They get that first pickup. The second that sweeper picked up anyone in that bush, UTS needed to back out, and I think they only noticed a little bit too late that it was actually 5 people in that bush and not the one that I think they thought it was.
UTS, I mean, look, it's something kind of funny about like how unified they were moving as a group of 5 right into that bush, and then the second they see someone, it was just scatter every man for himself. No one stuck around at all to help poor ZY, who did go down right there. The kill is actually secured by Simp Master, which I find interesting. Simp Master on this set, I feel it is his specialty. Now he has that 1 kill lead, so the Ruby Crystal to go along with that Doran shield means that Sherlock going to be a little bit behind in this top lane. Murdoch has an opening that maybe doesn't necessarily involve this bot lane. They can play through top now.
Yeah, that is a very unique position that they rarely ever have early on. And, you know, it's unique for the sense that UTS doesn't really make mistakes like that very often. So, you know, having those deaths come at the first engage is incredibly rare, as we're going to see the jungle pathing from Akano. He's going from blue to Gromp, and he's actually going to go straight to, I believe, red here. He's going to bypass those Raptors and just try and get a double buff into Crab, which is a really good pathing for the Volibear, as he's really able to get that early game contesting of those crabs down. So he's just going to pick up that red buff. Meanwhile, Hecarim is going for a more conventional full clear, as he is well and, you know, more than able to. As I do want to point out, Killaroo did pop his ghost in that fight earlier. So that is no ghost onto Killaroo, so his ability to get those roams down a little easier is going to be down for a little bit longer.
I think it was worth it, and realistically, by the time that ghost is off cooldown, it should be when Killaroo will be looking for the next gank. Speaking of which, it looked like Akano was possibly going to try and find something up top. Instead, we'll look into the jungle, as Sherlock was able to regain that map presence, and unfortunately for Killaroo, might have to give this blue buff up. So going for the full clear means a slower paced jungle, means getting triple buffed, unfortunately, against the powerhouse that is UTS.
Yeah, and he's just going to grab the Grump here as well, which is really, really unfortunate if you are Killaroo, because you are getting shut out of so much XP and gold here. He's going to pick this up, he's going to roam down, get that Scuttlebug, and if you are MDU right now, yes, you've got that kill in the top lane, but they are punishing it through your jungle. Yeah,
this is a disastrous start realistically for Killaroo, who's going to be hitting that power spike later and later as this game gets delayed. Now, Hecarim is a speedy champ, so was able to get to that bot side Scuttlebug relatively quickly. Still doesn't save the fact that you did get triple buffed, so early jungle momentum in favor of UTS, and now it might be getting put to use as Akano stalks that top lane.
Yeah, and it is something to take note. Sherlock has opted for a ghost on the Darius instead of a TP, obviously going for a more aggressive Simp Master.
Oh, but it looks like Akano may have pulled the trigger a little bit too early, or possibly at the exact right time. Simp Master going to try to 2v1 this right back out, has that big shield, but the bleed coming from Sherlock means Simp Master has to flash away defensively. Good trade for UTS.
Yeah, I think Sherlock pulled the trigger a little too early there, and the ghost coming out actually scared him off from going further into the lane. Unfortunate play there. They do blow a flash on Simpmaster for, a flash and a ghost on the side of UTS. So I don't know if I'd say that's fully worth it, but it is a problem.
Well, and the big thing, too, on the tail end of that as well is because Akano spent that much time sort of stalking that top lane, it has allowed Killaroo to sort of get back into this game in terms of CS. Now, tempo still is in favor of Akano, but that's not going to be translated into gold necessarily just yet. They've kind of evened themselves out, and yes, they did get flash from Simpmaster, so you could go back top yet again, but because Simpmaster has that teleport, not going to be losing out on too much experience, is already eating those waves, so Sherlock's kind of falling even further behind in the top lane as well. Just not much to accomplish for that gank.
Yeah, there's not really much that they got from that, and in fact, it's probably a net negative from that gank. They didn't get that kill, and that's the problem with failed ganks as a jungler is, yes, you can always argue that you're putting pressure on, but unless you're specifically prepping a lane for a secondary gank, like we've seen in the past with Xeraths in mid lane, where they prep a gank early, blow the flash, and then get out to go for a second gank, that's fine. But when you just blow ganks like that, you're committing a lot of resources and getting no benefit. So those can be very, very deadly to your team as a whole.
But this is where that initial invade actually is coming into play from Akano. Because the sort of traditional jungle path from Killaroo got disrupted, Killaroo finds himself on the top half of the map instead of the bot half when Infernal Drake is available, and it means a free take for Akano. So some things are still going in UTS's favor. Again, that comes from that early invade on the top side, less than the gank, and our first hook does connect onto Boy Evil, means the flash is used, no luminous binding back in return. So ZY does get one hook, doesn't turn into a kill yet, but looking at the CS difference in the bot lane, this is a rough time so far for Murdoch.
Yeah, and even though we've stated in the past that as a Sona Lux bot lane, you don't need to focus on CS as you get your gold generation through support items, they're still down a large margin, even taking into account those support items, because I doubt they've been able to get a massive amount of success and a massive amount of poke. If you look at Lux, for example, we actually have a fight in the mid lane.
I'm looking at Orianna instead with no mana, just getting jumped upon by Killaroo, who was able to find a bit of something there. Doesn't get any summoners, just sort of a more, hey, how you going? Remember, I exist, and UTS will play respectful of that, I feel, in the future.
Yeah, I do want to point out here, though, that Kano is potentially coming in for a gank here on Simpmaster, but he might be able to get out pretty easily.
I don't know about the getting out easily. Still has the Showstopper, which can be used as an escape tool, but it is a 2v1, and Simpmaster is already blowing that shield. Actually goes the other direction, so Simpmaster kind of conceding this kill over to Akano. 1-1 now on the scoreboard.
Yeah, unfortunately, he did get caught out there by the E from Darius. He got pulled away, and that really shut his escape potential down, which is not what you want. I do want to say, though, Killaroo popped Ghost, and I know it's got a short cooldown, but he does seem to be committing a lot of resources to ganks that seem to be failing, which is not what you want to be having. It's not the end of the world, but it might be, a sign of things to come, that they're overcommitting for things that aren't worth committing on. So it is something to take note of in terms of patterns if it starts to arise, because that could be very problematic for MDU going forward.
I feel this happens a lot in games where you get a first blood very early in like a level 1 fight, where both teams kind of feel like this desire to sort of increase the tempo, sometimes unnecessarily. Now, UTS has been that team that has been, team fight, fight. So it doesn't really surprise me. And I have been looking for Murdoch to get a bit more aggressive, but they are still putting themselves in situations where they're really trying to force these fights, specifically our junglers in this game, and they're not getting too much from it. Now, Akano eventually did pull off that successful gank up in top lane, and I do feel overall Akano's proactive plays have been seeing more of a benefit than Killaroo's. However, there are still some of those sort of odd decisions coming out from each side that has negatively impacted each team. I'd like to see them each sort of clean it up moving forward, especially as we get closer to our second dragon in a couple minutes. That's going to be a Mountain Drake. I suspect that's where we might see the first big UTS fight.
Yeah, I imagine that dragon is where we're going to see the first major team fight break out, as both teams really want to start getting some objective control going forward. We don't have Baron on the map till 20 minutes. Shelly is available, so I think that those two objectives are definitely going to be strongly contested from both sides, as ZY ZY is just, you know, scouting out hooking options.
Yeah, I mean, again, just that rocket grab pressure coming from ZY is really doing a good job in keeping Boy Meets Evil and Ducky down in that lane. Action happening up above, though, as Akano is going to be double teamed by the likes of Anderson and Killaroo. Yet, it is a volley bear, and he is able to find one. Anderson still going to go in, but does not connect on the volley. Shockwave was not used successfully, but Anderson still is forced to retreat right when Simpmaster arrives, who now is actually entirely surrounded by the UTS squad. Big shield and flash into the showstopper, only gets one before Sherlock arrives to make the save. I liked the attempt, a bit unfortunate that it didn't work out.
Yeah, and see, this is why I wanted to see him on this champion. Oh, we actually have bot lane going in.
Yeah, and there's the rocket grab arrow combo deleted from the map as Ducky, as now Boy Meets Evil is going to try to run for their life. Drops the crescendo, but it's immediately cleansed and flashed, so Desire Me will get out perfectly healthy. Tower gets one kill back, and here comes Killaroo. Ghost is popped. Desire Me, no real abilities to escape, but the Ghost ran out right in front of Desire Me. Still won't be able to escape the trampling Hecarim, so 2 for 2 overall in the bot lane.
Yeah, unfortunately, a slight misplay coming out of UTS there. Desire Me tanking tower instead of ZY, forced to flash away after the crescendo lands coming out of Boy Meets Evil. Really unfortunate, but good to see proactive plays coming out, and that's where we see the strength of that lane that we were talking about. You get hooked, you get, you know, ultied from Desire Me. It's a confirmed death sentence at that point. There's really nothing you can do against that, especially if you're a Luxona with very little HP, so that's really scary.
And it should be worth noting that, yes, Luxona lanes aren't typically taken, you know, to get the biggest CS scores. They're going to get their gold through their item generation instead. Unfortunately for this bot lane, they haven't done anything to stop Desire Me from essentially free farming, and that is why at 11 minutes, we're already seeing the completed Blade of the Ruin King coming out of Desire Me on this Ashe. That is the first major power spike that you tend to see from this champion, and I don't feel that Murdoch can really do anything to stop any sort of contest right now that Desire Me is going to be involved in. That does mean that this Mountain Drake is probably going to be secured uncontested by the UTS side, and Murdoch, they're slowly slipping away in this one.
Yeah, they are slowly slipping away. As like you said, although, you know, Luxona doesn't need the CS to create their gold, I don't see why you wouldn't still focus on it, because now you're just creating a second gold generation source, so you can really accentuate those leads, but it seems like they're just focusing on the wrong things right now. And like you're saying, you know, they have a combined of like 70 CS compared to Desire Me's 109 in a complete item, so it's a very scary position, as Akano could theoretically just ulti tower and shut it down. Never mind.
Yeah, no, instead it's going to be time to run away, because all of Murdoch is here, and they are looking for that fight. Desire Me able to back away out the tail end of it, not wanting to go for the 3v4 just yet. A more reserved UTS, and this is actually catching me a bit by surprise. They could be looking for that re-engage, though. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is there, and ZY waiting just out of vision. Will step forward into the ward, though, and that does mean Murdoch should back off.
Yeah, Hecarim's still backing, as we can see. So is he going to stick around? I believe he has decided to stick around.
He's going to have to, with the Eye of the Rift Herald being dropped. The charge will still come through, and that might take down the tower. It's taken quite low, and a couple autos from Desire Me should seal the deal. Yet Simpmaster and Killaroo are here. A nice 3-man showstopper from Simple Me is able to find one of them, the Simpmaster, I should say, killing Desire Me. Not Simple Me is a different champion entirely. Either way, 2 kills picked up by Murdoch with a well-executed gank.
Yeah, that was really, really well done from their team there. Managing to, you know, capitalize on the overcommit from UTS. And like we said a moment ago, that it was a UTS playing rather reserved, and then unfortunately they just weren't prepared for the re-engage coming out of MDU, as apparently Lux isn't prepared for the engage of the Darius there, forced to flash away. So overall, a really good outcome for MDU, especially I want to point out Simpmaster has been playing incredibly well. His ultimate there, his E, everything was just really, really well done. And I do need to give credit where credit's due. Even though Killaroo has been shut down very heavily early, he has actually brought it back to a net advantage over Akano. Nano, which is a really, really positive thing to see him do coming from behind like that.
Something, though, that I'm a little bit surprised to see out of Killaroo is the completion of the Warrior enchant before starting the Trinity Force. So that means we aren't really going to be hitting this Hecarim power spike until much, much later into this game. Typically, Hecarims, they actually just build the jungle component and then hold off on the enchantment until after the Trinity Force is completed. So a little bit surprising seeing that. I think that does mean the pace from Murdoch might slow down a little bit, even though things are going their way, as a big Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to miss, but the rocket grab will not, and Ducky caught out, unfortunately, in his own jungle. Another kill picked up by UTS.
Yeah, you know, something I will want to point out here, though, is the fact that UTS overall has a much more heavy roam team. You know, they perform much better in that. They've got the Blitzcrank, they've got the Ashe, they've got everything that they need to do to go in and go hard. Whereas Murdoch has a very, very solid team fight, you know, team. You know, they've got the Yone, they've got the Sona. However, they're just not at that position yet where they can really take advantage of it. Both teams are pretty even. However, UTS, if you look at gold, are still much, much further ahead. And I'm almost willing to bet that a lot of that gold generation is in that bot lane.
I would pretty much say yes, in agreement, because 145 CS right now on Desire Me, just putting an absolute show on in terms of CS mechanics. Yet, again, a relatively low-kill game for UTS at this stage. Murdoch playing much more into their style, which is a bit more calm, a bit more reserved, a bit more defensive, and sort of wait for your opponents to make mistakes and then occasionally be able to jump on them. Cannot emphasize enough, though, how critical it is for Murdoch's success in order to get Simp Master onto this set. Blade of the Ruined King has been completed for the top laner, who has been going toe-to-toe pretty much with Sherlock. Now, Sherlock has the better CS, but that doesn't mean Simp Master won't look for a fight, as they're going at it quite heavily right now. Again, these are two big tank, beefy boys. Sherlock's actually flashing for it, and that's just going to get him show-stopped underneath the tower. Simp Master should secure this kill. Sherlock was feeling very aggressive right there.
Yeah, I really, really don't know what that flash was, putting him in a worse position than he started in on the other side of tower. I really can't say what that was. I don't know if it was a mistake, but you know what wasn't a mistake was the hook from ZY.
Yeah, that gets Anderson in a bad place. Desire Me finds one in the Crystal Arrow, finds another Ducky. Not long for this world. A double kill for our tournament kill leader, who is starting to rack up his score once again.
Yeah, and we're just going to get a Cloud Drake get picked up by UTS here, putting them one away from Seoul at 16 minutes into the game. This is going to be uncontested. They have a slight idea that it's going on, but it's not like they can realistically contest this here. So we're just going to have the advantage of UTS being accentuated even further, even though kills aren't that, they're one kill different, yet 5k gold.
And that comes from, you know, no neutral objectives. In fact, no objectives whatsoever so far taken by this Murdoch side. No towers, no Ripped Heralds, no dragons, nothing going for Murdoch, as Shockwave does hit one, but doesn't hit the engaging Killaroo, which should mean Auto will get run down. Boy Meets Evil needs to be a little careful, backs away, make sure Killaroo does secure that. Even it up again on that kill count, yet Murdoch still find themselves behind in this game.
Yeah, and something to take note of is that their bot lane really needs to increase their, you know, kill participation and potential, because that Lux Sona is, you know, 1-1-4. Meanwhile, you've got Desire Me, you know, with a completed item, Boots, and a Zeal, compared to a Sona with a, you know, completed Boots, a support item, and a Tear of the Goddess. So, you know, yeah, the Lost Chapter's there, but it seems like there's a much bigger gap than there should be in that bot lane, and I can't help but attribute it to the CS difference.
I have to agree with you at that stage, and now 2 items completed. Blade of the Ruined King and the Runon's Hurricane means Desire Me will 100% be looking for any fight, and unfortunately Murdoch is going to have to take those fights in about 4 minutes time when that Dragon Soul does come onto Summoner's Rift. It will be a Cloud Soul as well, which is great for the UTS side, as that means, you know, decreased cooldowns and more pick potential in the enemy jungle as well, so everything kind of going in UTS's favor near perfectly almost at this stage. And I don't know what Murdoch is going to need to do to fight back in this. Let's hope for that perfect Simp Master flank. He is going to be the player to watch, I feel, on the Murdoch side.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be the person to watch, as he is the most successful player that they have right now. You know, Killaroo's managed to bring it back, but overall Simp Master has been playing incredibly well. Not even from a macro level, but on a micro level. His play on set specifically is pretty much second to none in this tournament. I haven't seen anyone play much better than him on that champion, so he is a threat when he gets that set.
Yeah, he absolutely is. It's just whether or not he'll be able to utilize it is the big question right now, as UTS just controls the entire bot half of the map. Simpmaster doing what he can up top to maybe alleviate some of that pressure with the split push, but Murdoch is paying for it right now. ZY clearing out those wards, still going to be looking for those critical rocket grabs. Enchanted Crystal Arrow was used before, it didn't connect on anyone yet. It doesn't matter. The zoning from the pick potential of the UTS side secures yet another tower.
Yeah, and see, that's where the real problem for MDU is sure, they're even on kills, they're down gold, and they're down 4 towers. So objective-wise, they are in a very scary spot, as Desire Me was left alone.
Oh, and now ZY actually might be getting caught out. Killaroo committing a lot for this. And Crescendo is immediately cleansed by Desire Me, who flashes out and somehow stays alive as the rest of UTS slams into the front line of Murdoch. Otto as well, barely escaping that angry horse. And now it looks like Murdoch is split up with UTS jammed in the middle. That means Anderson is going to have to try and do something crazy. Runs right into the fray and is helping Sherlock get some of those kills. Anderson finally does get caught out as UTS regains control of the middle of this map. A pretty chaotic fight that does see Murdoch on the tail end of it.
Yeah, Murdoch do manage to pick up 2 kills there on the bot lane as they get caught out, but UTS able to pull it back, and that's really the strength of this Darius Volibear, is that there's 2 frontliners doing a lot of damage that you have to get through before you can get to anyone. Unfortunately, Ash did get caught out there by Anderson on a very good flank, as the Yone was able to capitalize on the disjointed fight that was going on and was able to get that kill, which is really, really nice for him. Get that extra BF sword and pickaxe under his belt for his trouble. And, you know, it is a sign that they aren't fully out of the game, but it's, you know, it's still very, very scary to see, you know, the main carry down and still 3 of your team dead.
The scarier thing as well for Murdoch, as we just saw, no vision around that dragon pit, which is spawning in about a minute. This is going to be a critical fight for Murdoch. They cannot afford to give this Dragon Soul over yet. If they commit too much for it, they could be giving up Baron with their base already starting to get cracked open in the mid lane. This Eye of the Herald not going to help them whatsoever. UTS controls so much of this map right now. It's going to force Murdoch, I feel, into a bad situation, and that's where UTS can almost look to end this game.
Yeah, you know, they definitely can look at it. Killaroo is sort of trigger happy on the side, but that could cost him dearly. Yeah,
the rocket grab connects and it forces the ultimate out of Killaroo, and that has been the big engage so far for Murdoch. So with that ability no longer in their wheelhouse, Dragon Soul 15 seconds away, UTS immediately beelining towards the pit.
Yeah, they're beelining towards that pit as they know that they either get a soul or they win the fight. So really, really scary here as they're walking into a trap.
That they are. Rocket Grab connects onto Simpmaster, not their target. The Showstopper will try to buy time, but Desire Me already gets the kill. Enchanted Crystal Arrow connects onto Boy Meets Evil, and the follow-up damage is there. Decapitation out of Sherlock secures that kill, and now that will be Dragon Soul as well.
You know, that's my favorite thing as a support, where you flash the Enchanted Crystal Arrow so that your carry gets deleted instead of you. You know, at the end of the day, all you can try and play for is your KDA, and, you know, it makes sense. I don't know if it was the right idea, but Ducky deciding to flash out the way, letting Boy Medieval, you know, pay for their sins, as they're just going to head over to Baron. Something to note, Killaroo is over the wall at Baron pit, maybe trying to go for a steal.
I mean, he's going to have to go for that hero play right now, as so far tonight, this has been a case, I feel, of supports, you know, playing for themselves. So a couple times we've seen them abandon AD carries. Desperation, perhaps, from this Murdoch side. They're going to have to commit to that play, and it's Killaroo who we need to be watching, but no play is to be had. The Baron secured by UTS, the Dragon Soul as well, everything going in UTS's favor. Now Killaroo has to run for his life, does get out unscathed, yet UTS, they should be looking to go straight down the middle of Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, and see, that's really, really the problem with having no vision on your team, is that Killaroo could not pull the trigger and try and steal, because he could have pulled it and they might not have been there. He could have pulled it and they're still, you know, just starting the fight. So really, really unfortunate there, as if you look on the side of MDU, no one has a blue ward. No one has blue trinket to even try and get some vision on it. You know, it really, really unfortunate for them, as it means that they weren't able to even contest that Baron. And if you're, you know, MDU right now, it's a list of mistakes, a laundry list of mistakes that it's just costing you this game, and there's very, very little I think they're going to be able to do to come back into this, even though Simpmaster has been playing very well.
Simpmaster is in a world of hurt right now. I can see all 5 members of UTS beelining towards him. They'll give the kill over to Otto as a nice gesture saying thank you for playing a support mid laner this time around. Have your 3rd kill of the game. Now you're with all of your friends as they're mushing down that bot lane, looking at that next tower. Baron Empowered Canyon sieging along. Murdoch is going to have to try to force something soon, otherwise it will be that death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, that's pretty much how this is going. Instead of 1,000 cuts, it's the death by 1,000 mistakes, unfortunately, for the side of MDU, as they keep making not major mistakes, they keep making some of the right ideas, but they don't execute them correctly, and it's costing them greatly as they're about to crack the inhib tower in bot lane.
Yeah, inhibitor about to go down. Still 1 second left, so Simpmaster does return to Summoner's Rift. I don't expect UTS to end the game here. Realistically, they should be looking to reset one last time, get that last chunk of items, and then finish this one off. You want to see him do it before that Elder Dragon comes into play, because a Elder Steel might save Murdoch in this situation. Yet UTS, they are going into that mid lane. They could be looking to siege and possibly take another inhibitor first.
Yeah, I think the best idea for them here is actually just to crack this this inhib tower in mid lane, and they're actually getting an ulti off.
Yeah, Crystal Arrow connects on to Killaroo, and that means let's go in. The Shockwave follow-up takes down the jungler, and in the backline, Anderson goes for Desperation. Crescendo, unfortunately, does not connect, and the flank from Simpmaster is too little too late. UTS, they're going to win this fight. They're going to look for the aces. Ducky gets nailed by the rocket grab. This team can do no wrong right now. Everyone dies on Murdoch. Give them the ace. Give them the game. UTS remains undefeated.
Yeah, UTS is going to remain undefeated here. They're just standing there. They're strutting on them right now, posing, showing off as they go to 4-0 in this tournament, as this has been an incredibly dominant game for UTS, as they're going to go, get themselves their 4th victory of this tournament. GG UTS, you played well.
I was about to say, the only unfortunate thing realistically is they had less kills than average supports ZY had coming into it. Well, that's not the case. Oh my gosh. They're sniping everyone in that fountain. Not much Murdoch can do. Let's pad those stats. Sherlock staying alive. Eventually, Ducky will fall down as well. Boy meets evil. He knows better. He'll just stay in that fountain. Nexus explodes, and UTS does get that victory. So